I know you're there. You keep me calm, well I know. With these handcuffs I'm not free. With these shackles on me. They waste their life, they waste their minds. Baby, we're not blind. I tell you that you're one of a kind. Stop wasting your time. Someone had to be it. Life travels by day, and in the do you must. When everyone joins the parade, if you will, you must say it. And tell me we're gonna be alright. We're on the night flight. On the night flight. Come with me behind the sun. There's one light, can you see it? Crush the gears on the interface. These machines, they need us. And tell me it's gonna be alright. Maria, your voice a stream of gold, uplifting the old. Indians gone shore to shore. The river flows in detour. And your voice, mother, a stream of gold, uplifting the old. The Indians gone shore to shore. The river flows in detour on home. And I got 2 lighters, so I'm not fucking around tonight. Tonight. You know, we must remember. We must recover. We must return to Om. And let's all do ourselves a very blessed, healing breath. There's a very important name, sound that I often refer to. And she is one awesome, beautiful, awesome person. She's one with Maria. She is 1,000,000% the reason all of this happened.
And let's breathe a big D, because she is D. A big A. A big N. And a big A. Donna. Donna. Hail Donna. Donna. Our home is Donna. And there's no place like home. There's no place like Mo. There's no place like home. And Da-na is exactly what it sounds like. Ma or na are the same thing. And we all know what Da is, so you're just calling her what she is. Mom and Dad of millions, maybe billions. Especially when the curtain is opened and we see the human being who loved us so much. And let me back up just a second and remind everyone the context of my story. When I met the Missouri River Goddess, I would say about the 5th or 6th ritual, she told me, I'm going to reveal my magic name, the name that the river knows me by, the name that the land knows me by, and all the animals, trees. She's like, I've been here millions of years on this plane of ageless, timeless bliss. I come here all the time. And, I was seeing her face to face with all her blonde hair and how small she was. And a full year, she would just tell me, it's not even that I would ask her, she would just tell me what makes me a goddess is I'm the queen of Atlantis. I'm the wife of a great god. So unexplainable. She said, I am basically nothing compared to him. This is way before I knew she was Maria. Okay? And what she was doing is she was speaking as Donna. Because from the get-go, as they say, she was like, we're one. And the true story of Maria Orsic, which this is how the book begins. When I was 12 years old, Maria said, I got it in my mind. No one told me to do this. I got it in my mind too that the Bible was full of shit and my parents' spiritualism, New Ageism, she said, I respected, but I knew it wasn't what I was looking for. Like she said, it was a public compromise and maybe... Like she said, I never knew what my father was truly doing in his spiritual practice, but I knew what my mother was doing. And I knew I needed much, much more. And I knew she wasn't happy, so I knew something was wrong. And from my father's library, I read a book called something very simple like Alchemy and Herbal Medicine or herbal remedies or something like that. She said I just basically picked it up, opened it up, and started reading. This practice comes from shamans who trace back thousands of years to perhaps Siberia, somewhere in Russia. And she said, I thought to myself, no, Atlantis. And she said, I, like you, Joe, fully 100% naively believed in my intuition or my own inner guidance. What she said is the perfect guidance system to trick yourself into a certain destiny. Because the trajectory is seen by the true self. So it's like, yeah, I know the quickest way to get there is like this, but we'll never get there like that. So we're going to have to do this and that is what will get there, and that is what will prove our individuation and that we're not someone else. Could you imagine in the future, you're looking at history and you're like, here's somebody who says they're me. Has anyone ever thought they were me? I mean, according to the New Age reincarnation, bluff, there's 50 Joan of Arcs, 50 Abraham Lincolns. A lot of William Shakespeare's out there. And obviously, these are like archetype. And, you start to realize that this is a holographic world. In our minds, we think simulation or virtual reality. But it's much more serious than that. And you'll see that this is the arena of magic, and this is what our people came here to do. Literally fight magic wars and see what you got. That's a very non-emotional, fact, but we must start there, right? And she, Maria, her story. She said, I started doing my little ritual with like tobacco and other teas that I just got from my mother or from the kitchen or Siggy's parents or other kids in the neighborhood. She said I didn't know what I was doing. But, she said, these were like the run-ups. She said, I had one thing in my mind, though. My God is a goddess, and I'm seeking her. And who she is the Queen of Atlantis. And I puked a few times. I cried a few times. But I got stronger each time. And finally, I got my first bag of Amanita muscaria. And did my first real official ritual. I think it was, she said, I think it was about 7 grams or so. And I had absolutely no idea about drinking the urine of the Amanita tea yet. She said, but I concentrated it into one little cup. My mother was asking me what I was doing, where those mushrooms came from, what is this? And she said, I'm just keeping myself healthy. I had the couple candles I owned. I had the incense I owned. I had a little shaker that Siggy had given me, like a sand shaker for keeping rhythm. And I was ready. At 12 years old, here we go. I'm starting my training as a self-initiated shaman. She said, I drank the mushrooms, and in like your language, Joe, in your Hollywood language, I was Dorothy. Because I was laying in the bed, and I was like, am I dreaming? And she said, my true self said to me, you're dreaming the real dream. You're dreaming, now you're dreaming the reality of your purpose. She said, and I thought to myself, there is another me, and it is smarter than me. She said, this made me so happy. I hear you, mother. I hear you. I had that same experience of like, hold it. The reality is I'm not just this, which is, great news. Because the all-powerful you is the one that put you here. And a whole 1,000,000 pounds comes off your shoulders. And you realize everyone's real, true self put them here. Or their AI. And you'll never understand that because it's not quite real. It's very based on a true story. And like I said before, Maria Orsic told me there's a law on Venus that you cannot hold anyone accountable for anything that an AI does. You could be fined for mentioning it because it is not the person. And like she said, basically the identity. And because they're not real, it just becomes a very interesting dividing point in all of reality. Those who choose to come here and those who don't. Very clear, distinct dividing point. Like she said, it's now become officially an initiation in the schedule of the gods, the school of the gods, the timeline of the gods, and their very wisest, most calculated recommendations for your life that are never forced. This is where the idea of free will comes from. Everything for millions of years has completely been your choice because of the sovereignty of energy weapons. Because the energy weapons were turned into energy boundaries, energy barriers. And literally we do on Venus live in like in a gated city, gated community that is so impossible that the gate is impenetrable. You know what I mean? And that first night, she said, I drank my mushrooms and, as you would say, Joe, flew out of my body. She said, I might say floated. And she said, Joe, she said, and I could not help but, I just could not help but greet you the way the Queen of Atlantis, Queen Kali, Dana, Diana, Deanna, Danu, Parvati, Queen of all our hearts. And like she said, these are the mysteries. These are the mysteries of El Lou Isis. Elusis. Why? Because El is Lee, and Lee is Leo. And like she said, language on another level can flow like a river. And she's like, you can say my thoughts. Thank you. You're welcome, Mother. Momo, mo, 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 mo. And she said, it was like going, she said, like your princess fairy tales. All of a sudden, I was in a dress, and she said, believe it, Joe. They stole everything from my story because it's imprinted on so many billions of people's unconscious who come to the Matrix. It's imprinted on your unconscious, this story that I'm telling you. Because this is the real truth, the official truth of how all the superheroes, all the hero with a million billion faces stories of like one person. It came down to one person. And like she said, yeah, but Sig would have been with me if I wasn't afraid I was gonna die. She said the last thing I was gonna do at that point was have both of us die at the same time. Just because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. She said, and that wasn't a lack of faith. She was like, I believed in the technology. You understand the technology? The technology is the UFO that Maria built was a computer that interacted with your mind. Like an AI, brain chip type thing. Except it didn't need a brain chip. All it needed was your DNA to code you in. And only Maria, not Siggy, only Maria could steer it. So, with her mind, only Maria could turn the engine on, turn the power on, the electromagnetic power, the same power that stores information in the vril energy space. It's a manipulation of the sun's energy, and the sun's energy is actually everywhere, even at night, of course. Of course. Because what is sun backwards? Nos. S. Oh, you thought I meant S-U-N, and that's what they said. But what use? And they were like, listen, the S-O-N lives without the S-U-N. Joe, do you understand? I said, yeah. I'm God in that way that I'm eternal. I'm all-knowing about myself, ever-present with myself, all-powerful over myself. Ever-present with myself. The avatar created by the one and only creator, me. The true self who never leaves that plane of existence. Why? Why risk eternity? How can you? You can't. No rational person would. And that is why the Crowleyites and the evil are the evil. Because they wanted, and this, you want to hear the true fall? The true evil people who came out of their egg on their nirvana level, they decided, I'm not coming back to the nirvana level. I'm moving my egg and my nirvana level to this chaos and discord, disorder, and the power of the disdaining chord, the eerie chord, like the happiest major chord or minor chord, disdained, that's discord. It's just to throw you off just a tiny, tiny bit. And they can say, technically, we're still in the scale. It's just a disdaining note. It's not out of the scale. You know what I mean? Are you following the spirit or the letter? Are you following your heart or books? You following your heart or Blavatsky's heart? You following your heart or anybody else's is not enough. Until the day comes, you have no gods, no leaders, no kings, no president, no nothing. If you're listening to me in America and you're my people, wake up to the fact you have no country. You have no place in this world at all. The whole world rightly hates America and hates us for not doing something about it. Like, once your kid's dead, the only thing you look at is the mathematical equation that resulted in their death, and you say, I don't care about your motherfucking excuses. You people had nice houses, nice cars. Why didn't you stop your government from killing my kid? And we say, but we couldn't do anything about it. They had a gun to our head. Oh, wow, you made a lot of money. While you were bribed. While you went to Joyce Meyer Church and you sowed into her ministry so you could become what? Oh, you could reap 10 times. 10 times what? We see by your house and your real estate investments and your blah, 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 blah. And like she said, son, believe it. You're going right back to earth and you're going to be a kid. And you're going to suffer if you dare die with anything. Period. Like the story says, the truly spiritual person knows when they're going to die and make sure. They make sure they give every fucking thing away, sell every fucking thing. And it's not a big deal because they already knew, so they don't have a lot. They don't have a lot. Because a lot is a little, and a lot of restraint and true prison, a true prison. And she said, Maria said, that first ritual, when I drank the 7 grams of Amanita, she said, which I came to figure out years later were so absolutely excellent. And she said, I was led through she said, like you said, like Cinderella, like the fairy, like the true fairy tales. I was led into a castle, which was, normal for my childhood. Like she said, our nearest neighbors were a wild. She said, I only had really 2 neighbors, and, they weren't really my friends. So me and Siggy basically lived with each other since we were, like she said, we met when I was 6, and by 8, our parents were fighting us to separate us. So basically, when we weren't at school, we were together, either at my house or her house. And she said, then we had a third friend, a boy our age with two younger sisters that we loved so much, like they were our sisters. And Maria has always told me, I don't want anything known about my brothers and sisters on earth, if I had any. She said, don't believe anything you read, because I don't want them and their individuality to ever be tainted by who I am. I said, so you're an only child? She said, I didn't say that. Oh, mother, oh, mother, oh, mother. And as I light this, Mother's going to tell you her story. And she said, as I went through she said, I was thinking to myself, I am the Vrilya. I've entered the inner earth. She said, I was completely, that's her very favorite book. You know, Vril, the Coming Rays. That's why she says Vril. She's like, that's one of the very first American books that we ever heard about as, young girls, that was like completely out there. She said that's literally the terms, like how we talked in the early 1900s. Like this book is out there. And she said, you have a complete wrong understanding of the history and vibration of like what it felt like in the early 1900s. She said, Joe, there was like a total like changing renaissance, remembering, recovering, returning. Me and Sig were like, we're in fucking heaven. The world is changing according to our likes. She said, we used to say to each other, we must be powerful bitches. We're in control of America. Everything we think, American fiction writers write. And the whole reason we loved America so much is because when on that first night, that tea, and I was led through that castle like 3 doors, and then I seen a queen sitting on the throne, and my first thought was, what, Joe? Oh my God, look at that beautiful hair. Because Donna has the most beautiful green, black hair that is like wavy, coily, not totally coily, but wavy and really long. Like when I seen it, I thought Indian goddess, but she's not quite Indian looking, is like I would know in 2025. As I get to know people around the world, she looks, I guess because she's already told me it's in my mind, but she looks Iranian. And I know people say Iranian, but, this is where I'm from. We say Iranian. And I like Ira. I like to say Ra. All the Ra names, like Sandra, Ra. And like a mother, she called to me, Maria, Maria, come, I'm the Queen of Atlantis. And like a fairy tale, I ran up to her, and I started crying as I got closer, and I hugged her around the waist, and she was hugging me and kissing the top of my head, and she said to me, Joe, I realized, how big is this lady? She's 2 of my moms or something. And she was like, I could feel her muscles. I could feel her, like, how hard her body was and it gave me joy, like, man, what the fuck? She said, and she just kept hugging me and kept kissing me and saying, I love you, you're my daughter, my daughter, my daughter. And she said she stood me up and said, don't cry. And she said, she took my hand and brought me up to the throne. And she got up and she put me on the throne. And she stood before me and she said, Maria, do you know who I am? And I went, I don't know. And she said, I like burst out in total joy and total like sorrow in some way of like, not sorrow, but a so happy that you cry. And a celebration at the same time. I was like, I know that feeling. You replicate this shit exactly. You do so well. Because she had already done this sort of in my life. And she said, no, do you understand? I'm this big because I'm a giant. What you would consider a giant. And Maria said, she was like, oh my God, I thought I was just seeing it that way. She said, no, I am, in our 6 foot, 7 inches tall, and I'm tiny for a giant. She said, Maria, there are women over 8 foot tall, commonly where I'm from. And she said, I burst out, where are you from? And she said, from the North Pole. Our people lived on each pole because each pole was the very, very best, most balanced. She said, in my life, you could easily live to be 200 years old. Easily. And be healthy till 200. She said, we don't lose our vril, our capacity for creating the orgasm till well into our hundreds. And from the beginning, we had laws against pollution, against harming the Mother Earth. She said, you're the offspring of me and my people because we destroyed ourselves. She said, as you read in the oldest book, the Mahabharata, the Great War, was a technological war between giants. My family and more importantly, my husband and his family were at the heart of trying to prevent this and have been always at the heart of helping. What we consider our children, the smaller man. I said to her, so who am I? She said, through Aldebaran science, or Hyperborean, if you want to use that term, We're called many different things. A seer, air, I am, vril, I am, vrilya. She said, what? I don't understand. And she said, our science destroyed the whole entire human race. She said, it's going to be an illusion and a trick, but they're going to tell people that nature did this, that an asteroid hit the earth or something. But what actually happened was we had such sophisticated technology that they created an energy weapon that would actually go around the world and turn off the heart of every living being and leave only plants, only vegetation, every animal, every insect. Only the fish, would live. And a symbolic millions of years that we always say 4.5 because it's somewhere near that, she said. As you're waiting and pondering many, many years in another galaxy, another system, another dimension, another reality, you begin to forget everything that happened. And it was thought of only as being cruel to restart the human race any earlier. And our gods, our wise men, did not know if nature was going to accompany the technology. And I've told the story before. It's kind of like what you see in the Sumerian tablets, that they created different bodies to see if a woman giving birth to this being would automatically put a human, what we would call human, new man, soul, spirit, essence into the person. And like she said, there was many failures, and they ended up having to slowly, have women, giant women, the smallest giant women, have the children of these soulless animals. And like she said, like Maria and Donna both said, it was scary. It was scary, and those women are thought of as heroes, because, like she said, although not technically, not mathematically, but somehow, when you're a woman and a thing lives inside you and you give birth, there's part of you in it, even though, like we know, not on the essence level, but on other levels. And like she said, any mother knows what I'm talking about. And she said, what people don't realize is because of the observer effect, if a cloned robot is observing anything, nothing's there. Think about that. Think about that in the Matrix. Think about if you feel like you're not there to someone else, it's because they aren't. In a virtual reality way, that they're not plugged in. It's just AI, and it's reacting to the very closest updated technology software to that person. But what you essentially get like Maria said, always, essentially, you get the masses because no one good or evil would just send a goddamn robot here when they know how important it is and how it is the main event. She said, there's only one thing that could keep you from coming here. Eternal true love. And essentially our people, that's all I want, Like she said, it's an initiation onto a level, Joe. We talk about it on Venus, Yeah, we're sort of dancing around in a fucking dream, even on Venus, saying, I can feel it, you can feel it. The only thing that really is real is our eternal connection. That's love. That I swear I'll never forget you no matter what fucking happens. I love you. I'll never, ever stop loving you. Because in a million worlds, I'll recognize your vibration. It may take me a minute, but I know you. That's eternal true love. And says, we've gone a step farther. I recognize you because you're the face of my soul, because you were the face of the flower that I jumped in, that led to another dimension, that revealed the truth. My story, your story. And Maria said, I said to her as a 12-year-old kid, what about dinosaurs? There's a lot of talk about dinosaurs right now. And she said, Maria, I'm going to introduce you to all kinds of animals you've never met. Call them dinosaurs, call them whatever, but they lived with us during the age of the giants. And she said, I promise you, there was only that age and no before. She said, our history was millions of years, if not billions. We lived in cycles. It was like we were born this way into the natural reality. And no one knew ever if there was a first two parents or first two parents all around the world, or if just everything existed and faded out and faded in. The giants never knew. Things went back so far in an astral, like she said, Joe, we're talking about a few thousand years of your ancestors' history that you're trying to figure out. The giants, Donna, literally had records of millions of years of history and family history. Like she said, everything was DNA genetics. Everything was family. The reason why it's still so burned into your unconscious that what we got to do is find a partner and have a couple of kids, because that's what carries on the human race. And it's like, okay, rats. That's what carries on the rat race, And I have 3 kids. I did the same thing because that's what you came here to do. You came here to be like, let me stress the word like regular human parents, which are a lot more like regular rat parents than you want to think. And I'm not disrespecting rats. I'm respecting them by saying, look, how you and the most powerful beings in the world that can destroy the whole world are so much similar. I'm not disrespecting the rat. Sorry, I have to stretch. It just ache for us. And Yes. True history with Mama or Sick. She said, this is what Donna was all teaching me that night at 12 years old. And she said, what do you think I did, Joe? I said, I bet the next morning you tried to start telling your mother. Yes, and my father. Just so happens my father was the one day that he always had breakfast with us. Because he would have breakfast with me if I would get up an hour earlier. He usually left an hour earlier. So the one day, and I came down and started bibble-babbling about the Queen of Atlantis and this whole thing. And she said, like a movie, my father stopped chewing his food, started staring at me, dropped his fork, and I cling on the plate, and just said, Maria, she said, like in your time, Joe, it would have been the F. How the fuck do you know these things? And she said, I jokingly said, you said I could read in your library. She said, Joe, I was half Lucille Ball, thinking I was cute and funny little 12-year-old comedian. I thought I was funny. No one thought I was funny but me and other little Scorpios, other little insects around. And like she said, don't tell me a Scorpio's not an insect. I'll tell you different. And she said, don't tell me what a snake is. I am one. You're looking at one. She said, me and Siggy are the two S's in pussy. And we always will be. We are the woman. We did it completely, 100%, without any man in this reality. The only man helping us was Lord Lucifer Shiva himself. And she's like, well, Joe, I'm trying to kind of imitate him. And let me tell you, we never needed anyone else. We never needed another man. I was like, I know what you're saying. I don't need anyone but you. Clearly. I mean, it's not even a question. That's long been established. Like 14 years ago. And just for the record's sake, because like she said, this is an art project. All the sex magic teachings that Maria taught me, never once was she participating in the sex. No, it would be me, the two wives, or the whole Vril group with, girls that I didn't even know at the time. I didn't even know who the person was. But Maria would always be sitting there in the lotus position with her eyes closed, communicating with us all on another level. And after like a year of being around Lou, she's like, now do you get it? I'm like, oh, you're Lou. That's what Lou does. Now, right now, for me and Maria. No matter what, in a ritual, he just stays in that position with his eyes closed. People say holding the space. That don't sound good enough. It's just pure magic to us, to his presence, just to have him there. Like, we don't want him to say anything. Just, please, we hug him. We kiss his head. We hug on him. But we don't need him to do any more. Ever. I mean, people like... I don't know why we live this way. Why do we live with people we don't like? Why do we live compromised? And because we're scared little rats that we're not going to have enough. We're scared little rats that might have to admit we were wrong, and we were wrong doing what's right to survive. And like it goes back to that, like the naiveness, like Maria said. Did you understand what I told you, Joe? I was 20 years old going to the big city, like the New York. She said, Joe, I mean, this was big city fucking what? Who are you dumb, long-haired country girl motherfuckers? You just got to the city, And we were so fucking naive. Like she said, we tried to make friends with the cute little cab driver by offending her, saying, like, don't you know? And she said, the whole thing is lost in the conversation. But our intent was, don't you know? You can use magic to help you survive. You won't have to drive a cab. You should listen to us. You should be like us. She said, we were so naive that we thought people would be like, oh, you're glowing with sparkling magic. Let's go. I'm joining you. She said, we didn't want any following, no money or anything. We wanted literally people to be happy like us. We literally cared about her like, hey, this has to suck. You're, always being talked down to by men, always like, oh, you drive a cab. Do you also suck a little, on the side? They're like, a lot of men, like she said, in the big city, are in the reality of, hey, everyone loves sex. I'll give you a little money if you suck mine, if you're like that. If you're not, fine, I'll find somebody who is. She said it was that laid back. It's not like rape. But she said, me, you, and I know how you cannot have magic life and live like that because, why, Joe? I said that would be the biggest exchange of energy that mentally can happen. And you would have to be a person who can mentally turn that off. And she said, which would take what? A person who shuts down their psychic abilities or has none. It's like, how can a person do that? Because they have no psychic abilities, so they don't feel like they're losing anything by taking on this like multi-emotional energy that is not their story. It's just someone else's story. You're walking around literally feeling things on rewind from a person's past. And that's exactly the wisdom behind the Christians to say, you know why? Because you're bad. You're bad and you should feel guilty. No, you're not bad. You should feel guilty because there's no law to say you can't do that. If you, like Maria said, maybe you and I would do that if we could, but we can't. It's not a choice for someone like us. It's like saying, a very sportsy analogy. It's like saying that you can sit around, watch TV, and eat nothing but ding-dongs and cupcakes and cake and ice cream and be a professional football player. People would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's the exact same thing of trying to live. Like Maria said, what are we trying to do to you? Trying to get you to live from the astral level to the matrix level. Right? So that why? Everything's supernatural, not just some things. She said, what is going on? I was like, supernatural love. I was like, we supernaturally love each other. Like, of all the fucking shit that's ever happened in my life in the last 15 years, like nothing, not a tiny bit of energy has changed between me and you. And she's like, why? I said, because I listened to you. And she said, I told you. You're going to have to listen to me, not because I'm a dictator, because I know the game. And I can tell you, turn right, turn left. Hit the button. Do it now. And Donna began to tell me her story. She said, little princess, little blonde princess. She said, no one in my family's blonde, but we all have blue eyes. And she said, do you see me? And Maria said, as she said, it was like 3 different layers, like supernaturally, like peeled away from her skin. She said, and I seen like a darker version of her. She said in the 3rd version, looked like a very, like a nicely tanned. She said all of us in Germany, dreamed of once a year going and just doing nothing but sitting in the sun and just becoming tan and just full of sun. Like she said, I'm one white-ass motherfucker. She one time said to me, can you see through me? I'm so white you can see through me. And she said that 3rd dark version of Donna said to me, I am also your ancestor. She said, and I said, who are you, a Hindu goddess? She said the lady laughed and said, Donna's the goddess. I am her great-great-grandmother. And we want you to know, we adopt you. She said, and all of a sudden it entered my mind, Donna isn't European. And I said to her, you're Arab. And she said, no, that's not what we call ourselves. We call ourselves Persians or Aryans. And she said my mind spun like a top. She said, I gasped and went, you're the Aryan race. And she said, well, not me, but my family is from that royal line. It's a family from Hyperborea. She said it's so well mathematically constructed, like each family has 3 children. Those 3 children have 3 children. Those 3 children had 3 children until the balance, and then they had 2 children. Then their children had 2 children. Then their children had 1 children. Then she said, we kept energetic balance with the earth. That's what the pyramid is. It's showing that it's in balance with the earth, and no matter what happens, the pyramid stays there. And Maria, she said to me, why do I keep talking about the pyramid, Jeff? I said, I don't know. She said, you remember I told you that my favorite shape is a triangle because I love the pyramid. How many sides? 3. She said because it's the stability that is able to move with the earth like a river. It's like a river of mathematic stone structure that is so perfectly lined up to like the vibrational core. Like she said, like the electric that makes your heart pump. The pyramid is connected into the exact acupuncture that keeps that energy flowing to keep the pyramid there. It's like energetically connected to the earth. She said, like who? And I said, like me. She said, you're right. I've taught you well. We're one, right? We're one with what? Everything living. And she would teach me, how do we know that? Because we communicate with it all. Because we have real relationship with it all, with the plants we eat. We're so thankful to every plant we eat. We understand plants are people too. We're all people. We're all going through cycles. We're all, even us in the Matrix, will die and our ashes will go feed the earth. It's all the same, but it's all eternal return, and it's all good news. Like, we can relax. No matter what, if you would just relax, then everything will happen exactly how it was always supposed to be, how it was delayed to be, but now is. She said, and Donna, as I sat on her throne, Donna walked over to a table and she came back and put my hand, a like 3-inch Amanita muscaria mushroom, dried. And she said, was so happy. It was like a balloon to a kid in a circus, at the circus, you know. I just looked at it, it just made me so happy. And it was like I was holding the stem. It was like an umbrella that was lifting me up off the earth. And she said to me, my daughter, look at me. Look in my eyes. What is that? And she said, I looked back and went, I don't know. And she said, I started laughing in real life. She said, in my bed, I was bugging out laughing, trying not to be loud. And she said, I just could not answer any other way. But she said it was making me laugh hysterically that my own self had one answer and only one answer only. Me! I'm the mushroom. And like she said, it only makes sense at the moment. Like, someone else be like, that's just stupid. That's just absurd. Oh, you're a mushroom. Because on another level. Why? On another level, you're meeting a being you never knew existed. Even in your waking life, you're like, I know plants are alive. I know animals are alive. I know, the earth is alive. I'm a new agey spiritual type, blah, blah, blah. But until you're like, oh my God, I am in a magic world, and this fucking thing is alive in me. Not like food, like magic. It's a magic moment. And don't let it lose its tune and get tossed in the bin. Do you hear me? Magic uncelebrated ceases to be magic. Magic uncelebrated ceases to be magic. And yeah, that's part of the story that will be in the book. That will be in Amanita, Queen Diana of Atlantis, the beginning. And for years, Maria would tell me these stories, and she'd be like, Joe, are you paying attention? You're going to have to write this down one day. And I'd say, but you told me I'll be able to remember. I'm trusting you. Because it's just wild. Like she said, go ahead and say it. She said, I'll say it. It's like we're in love. She said, you know how people in love talk? She said, but it's just common every day for us. It's just our, someone's presence, the observer effect, can truly be, blissful. I know people are like, shut up, dude, that ain't practical. We ain't gonna be able to pay the bills like that. I ain't gonna be able to have my 4x4x4x4x4 truck that can move the world in it. It's got a million, torque engine. I don't even know what I'm saying. And, by Maria's request, she's like, I really think it's time. Let's just start slipping this shit in there. It's like it's got to be juxtaposed with this. Like Maria showed me one time in the middle of the sex magic teachings. She said, I want you to see this. This is just in your memory, anyone's memory. This is just absolute common Venusian lifestyle attitude concerning sex, because no one has genitals, no one has families, no one gets pregnant. So she showed me, like, this is like a friend of yours. She said, but this is also juxtaposed with what I've been teaching you about not mixing energy. She said, you told me this story one time. I talked to, so-and-so, this friend from the school that went to live, what we would consider like the masses, and some, like, we consider it almost like rebellious that, one of our people that was taught with us, would go and live with them. I said, I talked to her. I said, just like you said, she said this. I said, I asked her, is it true what, they teach us in the school about the masses, how they treat, like, we call it magic, how they treat magic, which is sex, how they treat sex. And she said, she said it's probably more extreme than what they teach you. She said, for instance, what you would call a date, what mother, in the school, Maria would call a date, would be to meet and go into a simulation and have sex. And I said, now hold it. How long have you known this person? And she said, well, like just yesterday. She said, I met someone in the morning, and he said, you look pretty. Would you like to have a date? And I said, when? And he said, I'm going home now. How about now? And we went into a simulation, and I said to her, like a child on earth, I said, and you had sex? You had magic? And she said, yeah. She said, that's what she said, it doesn't harm me to mix my energy like that. And I literally, like, gasped and stepped back like she had a fucking disease or something. For real. Because I had been taught, and it's so true, you have to stay like you're like Maria said, you're not a pussy, Joe, but what you are is a delicate flower. And like just the wrong balance, and you just wilt like a fucking, and are gone. The energy is just gone. And you have to protect that delicate flower. You have to protect the magic of the flower. You have to keep the flower alive. You have to keep the flowers strong. And you can feed the flower by just looking at the runes every day. Just take them out and look at them. Just look and say, man, is this really the language of the gods, of my gods, of the race of my gods, the giants that Maria Orsic was talking to, the Queen of Atlantis, Queen Diana, Danu, Deanna, the great one, the beautiful one? But Maria, she wanted me to end, on this story and start to give out a little of this. Because it's all just a big example of the overstory. And like she said, Joe, I hate that you even have to be involved in this, but this is the way it has to go. I think it was a third ritual, the girl I was talking about that we initiated, and she said, was I supposed to have sex with you and your wife? The same girl, Maria, said to me, will you please, because I had texted her a few days before and never heard back from her. She said to me that day, please text her or call her and ask her to be there no matter what, that we just want her to be there. So I did, and we began at like midnight or something. And she was like, I'm going to tell you the truth. I've had a few drinks already, so I hope you don't mind. I was like, what do you mean, do we mind? Do whatever you want. We don't care. We're just happy I literally said, we're just happy you're here. Like, her presence made everything better. And, of course, no one understood in the room what was going on, including me. This was right around 4th of July. And this most definitely was the ritual before Maria was like, I am bringing George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine with me to this group ritual. I want you to read to these real bitches the visions, the open-eyed supernatural visions that I gave to George Washington. And you see, this would be Donna. But she's speaking through Maria as the Queen of Atlantis, trying to affect the destiny of the little man who's just running straight for the grave, who's running straight for nuclear annihilation, and they can see it from a million miles away because they already lived it. And what happened was she started crying at some point, right when we began. And Maria was like, just let everything happen. I felt absolutely terrible for her. And because she was just crying because it was just coming out, like her suffering, her sorrow, her misery, and no one in the room understood how to handle it. Or I shouldn't say no one, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what to say. And I'm just listening to Maria and doing what she tells me to do. She's like, Joe, just relax and just let it happen. And she went on, and finally Maria said, she is America after what's going to happen to it. And tonight is the, kickoff of that. And she said, have pity on our sister here. She's the vessel for the message, and she'll be rewarded later. And she truly feels it because she is a true reflection of the emptiness of American culture, all of it. American religion, money. American culture, money. It's really money, God, country. It's really money, God, family, country. And that there was like a counterbalance. When Maria was like, okay, enough is enough crying. Let's show our power. And like I said, there was like 7 or 8 people there, maybe more. And maybe 9. No, I don't know. Yeah, probably like 7 or 8. It doesn't matter, does it? And every person, 1 out of 24, drew their in their own hand a bag of runes, and they every single one of them, including me, drew the astrological sun sign equivalent rune to their self. Like the Aries picked the ram rune. The Taurus girl picked the bull rune. And on and on. The Scorpio, Mindy, picked the Scorpio ing rune. It literally looks like a Scorpio with its pinchers. It's literally a Scorpio pincher is the rune. And the sort of Scorpio body with its weird, like, angles and shit. Just like Maria. That's how she is. That's why she's so beautiful to watch dance. She's very angular body. And, it all descended into the people who destroyed America and brought America down. And George Washington, Thomas Jefferson were like, we're just here to hear this, last reading by the river goddess of, her magic. So I read the dreams and visions of George Washington. And it was like their final word is like they won. They're like, you see, we agreed that we only put our spirits, our essences behind the government that guarantees the protections of the rights of the individual to free speech, freedom of religion, freedom from search, freedom to live however you want, and the freedom to own a piece of property and protect it. All these things completely flushed down the toilet and lost. This was July 2020, around 4th of July. This was July 2020. And all three of them were like communicating through Maria. I mean, they did greet me as her spokesman and stuff. They looked, like they were sad and very reserved. And I later met Thomas Jefferson again. Very awesome person, very Maria-like person. It's strange. And very artistic type person, Very creative, just like talking to. But it descended into what defeated America, and this is very important if you want Maria's opinion, a fact of history. What defeated America, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, Thomas Paine, John, all of it, John Hancock, all of it was Aleister Crowley, British Israelitism, and the infiltration and creation of the hippie, anti-American, this is what you got to mix with polarity. Anti-war and America are opposite polarities. That's what they taught the hippie. And the process church of the final judgment was Aleister Crowley's seeds of the hippie movement. They started it in the late 50s. They were smoking weed in a place called Satan's Cavern in the richest part of London. And they were introducing on a mass level and making it trendy magic, Satanism. You see, they don't want you leaving that paradigm. But magic and witchcraft and all that, and the whole process, church, Scientology, auditing, psychic, communication, true self, all of it. Everything we teach, they teach because it's natural law. They teach your people the same thing. You're just an avatar of your true self. Just do whatever the fuck you want. Do what I want because you're not a slave. As long as you're willing to do evil, invade people's thoughts, use force and fraud, then you're not a slave. That's how they represent the whole thing. You don't want to be a slave, so you have to do evil to weaker people under you. That's nature. And it was told to me that that night, and what Maria really wants you to get is that it came down to, the people behind the Gothic, satanic, industrial, electronic, like Satanism, the electronic dance Satanist element, the throbbing gristle psychic TV, Genesis Peorage. He was one of the very first sex change, transgender, like gross fat biker that looked like that had plastic surgery to have tits and look like a woman, but he would weigh nearly 300 pounds and was just gross. And people say he killed his wife. Supposedly she killed herself. He had to escape England because he was going to be charged with molesting his own children. And these people, he was a founding member of the Process Church with Marianne and Robert de Grimston. Who knows what the real names are, but they're still alive. They're old. They're in their 90s. And they're the actual hereditary inheritors of the Golden Dawn and OTO, and they make the real decisions in the world because they're the high priest and high priestess of the real religion. Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, Kabbalism is all a front for the reality of the true religion of, what me and Maria would deem harmful sex, synthetic drugs, and, bad rock and roll music. Right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that's their true religion. But they perverted, inverted, adverted it all into synthetic suffering. And now they're like, you complete the cycle. You destroy yourself with heroin or, William Burroughs and Naked Lunch. Like, it's cool to stick needles in your arm and you're a tough guy if you're like Crowley, Crow face, and you can stick needles in your arm and send yourself to hell, to the depths of addiction. They respect all that. If you can do that and keep your mind and live to tell about it. And like Maria said, we'll never agree to ever put anything bad on our body. We don't ever do anything unhealthy, ever, period, ever, ever, ever. There's no reason to drink or eat anything unhealthy, ever. It's a very bad principle, very proof of the masses principle that they're like, we have fun hurting ourselves. What do you mean? Like, we have a cheat day where we eat bad things. Because on another level, they're like, that's what's fun to us. Just breaking the rules for no reason. There has to be any reason or meaning or anything. Just to be bad, just to break the rule because I've been eating good all week. I get to eat something bad. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with a healthy treat that's not bad for you. The principle is the observation. The observer sees the principle of, no, that's really bad for you. Those dyes, that synthetic preservative nonsense. That's not even food. That's not even food. You didn't even eat food. You ate drugs. That corn syrup is goddamn drug. So in reality, you're like, yeah, I was good all week. Now I get to take drugs. And then I'll try to cleanse them out of my body, after that. And then I'll do it again. And you see the pattern, the cycle. We don't believe in any of that. from the very beginning. She was like, I don't have a book. I don't have 10 Commandments. I have this. Don't put anything bad in your body, Joe, ever. And I was like, meat? Is meat bad? And she's like, not good meat. I was like, so killing an animal and eating, it's not bad for your body? She was like, no. Especially if, and she was like, but if you're a real man, you will communicate with whatever meat that came from. You will communicate with that animal. You will hold it in your hand and say, I love you. You're sustaining me. I recognize and respect you. She said, I am telling you, I was a vegetarian, Joe. Not a vegan. But I was a vegetarian. She said, I was wrong. Once I died, so-called, or left this world, died to this world, and arrived in the other world, I realized that by talking to animals that they wished that they could have been like the Jesus that suffered in the industrial farm. You know, she's like, in the cow's mind, that's a great glory. She's like, you don't understand yourself or anything. Like, she's like, just concentrate on this, Joe. The magic is the songs, the books, the music, the dancing, the beauty of art. That is our food now. And so I at one point lost my mind in this group ritual, and I shown a picture of Janice Bjorge, who's in terrible makeup, a 300-pound biker with big boobs, and dressed like a woman in a dress and like pantyhose. I mean, just looking like a complete transgender monster, like a parody of a trans person. And this is the roots of this whole entire trans burlesque movement. This whole movement of like, men should, be stripped. Like, this is where it came from. And like she said, Joe, it's just nothing but trying to cut the head off of a real woman. This is all this is about. This isn't about a woman trapped in a man's body. This is a man who is trying to decapitate feminine energy and suck it into his own individual energy. And a war proceeded between, because I called him fat, ugly monster. They officially are like, okay, that's what we wanted, and now an official war has begun between us, and because he had died on March 15th. That year, 2020, March 15th, 2020. So now we were like put in touch with him through this ritual, and he was like, okay, it's on. Me and you are having a magic war. I will start by destroying the two so-called wives or helpers or whatever you want to call them. I'll turn them against you, against each other, and you'll never have another group ritual. And I'm focusing my magic now on you. And we did have another one, though. And it did get so prophetic. I'll have to talk about that again. And it said to me, know this for a fact, that me personally, I am going to send someone to your house to kill you. And I was like, Maria, do you hear this? And she's like, I hear it. Don't say anything. I was like, she said, just say, whatever. I said, hey, I said what I said. I meant it. You're a fat, ugly monster to me. And do what you got to do, buddy. And it's no bullshit. Like a month later, I had a meeting with Aleister Crowley on my porch in the rain. And he said to me, and this is after, like right after, some things went down. it was like everyone was turned against each other. I'll spare you the details, but it's just ridiculous. But, it's how we live. And he said to me, you see all that happened, right? You see, they've all been basically separated, turned against each other. They're having thoughts about each other. I said, yeah, they need Maria close to them like they have me. They can't really handle it by themselves. That's true. He said, but I just came here to tell you, I did that. Their power, Genesis and me are one. His power is my power, her power is my power. And believe it, when we said we're sending someone to your house to kill you, that we want to laugh in your face and gloat over you before it happens. So that when it happens and you're over here, we can laugh even harder and say, we even told you. This is no lie. A month later, I was sitting on my Maria. We were doing a ritual Saturday night. She told me, go out on your porch, your backyard. And I have a wood fence, that's 7 foot tall that you can't really see in my backyard, with a gate, with a lock. And she was this is 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 in the morning. And she's like, go ahead, turn on all the lights. And I'm like, okay. I had lights on the porch and shit. So I turned it all on. I'm just sitting there, me and her, and we're talking, and she was having me sing something to her. And she's like, now, Joe, really? She's like, I know that I'm not playing. She's like, but if there was never a time to take me serious, right now I'm not playing. What Aleister Crowley said is going to happen is happening right now. She was like, now just totally relax. I was like, okay. And she's like, when I tell you, go to your gate and lock it. All right. I think really, yeah, maybe she said lock it, or she might have said just walk to your gate. And I sat there for maybe 20 seconds, and she's like, don't run, not fast or anything, just walk over to the gate. And it was closed, of course, but it wasn't locked. And she was like, listen to me very close. I'm standing right in front of the gate. And she's like, at the exact moment that I tell you to grab the handle, you grab the handle and you try to lock the gate. And I am not kidding you. My true self, it was truly a moment with the true self, a complete other power of me came over me. For real, filled my mind, took over my mind. I wasn't afraid, and I heard the real me in me, I'm glad you sent someone to kill me, because whoever would come here to kill me, I would be more than happy to kill them with my bare fucking hands. I don't need a gun. And I am not kidding. As this was going through my head, I heard someone walking down my driveway to the gate. And I was like, oh my fucking God, this is real. And through the cracks in the gate, I could see just a flash, from 10 feet away, someone dressed in all black, with a hoodie, a hoodie on. And she's like, you ready, Joe? She's like, right now, put your hand on the handle and pull. And I swear on my own life, on my mother's life, on my children's life, on all my lives, everything that ever existed, I swear to you. At the exact moment she told me to pull on the gate, the dude in all black grabbed the gate and pulled the gate. We pulled at the exact same time. And he almost pulled me through. He pulled me and hit my shoulder against the gate, but he wasn't that strong. He obviously didn't expect me to be there. And, I think he just thought it was open, and he just pulled it really hard. And, because she told me to pull it the exact same time, the resistance in my hand, didn't take it out of my hand at all. I was gripped as hard as him and pulling the other way, so I pulled him right back closed, and it threw him against the thing again a little, and in an instant it was 1, 2, me and his mind met, and I said, you came here to kill me, I'm gonna fucking kill you on my property. You're on my fucking property. And he fell down. He slipped and fell down. I guess trying to pull it back up and just fucking sprinted off. And I just could see him through the cracks, running through my neighbor's yard. And let me tell you, that was part 1. And, I'll save part 2 for another time. And in Maria's name, we love you, and we wouldn't be here without her. Real talk in Maria's name. And we wish the same energetic protection around you, brothers and sisters, in the name of Momo, Missouri River Goddess, M.O., Missouri Orsic, River of Bliss. We truly, in the name of Lou, love you.